to start with lookups today. Lookups, the lookup formulas are one of the most used formulas when it comes to data manipulation or looking the data in different places and then getting it back together in one place to look at. Right. So to start with, I'm going to give you a thought exercise. Okay. As I go ahead and explain the thought exercise, you would know exactly what happens at the back end, what are the different problems we face when we are doing lookups, and so on. Right. So I have a very simple table, right? Just two columns and three rows. Right. The first column is lookup value. The second column is return value. So what I want to do is I want to look up these values and I want to get corresponding return values, right? For example, here, if I write 2 here, which is this, I want the corresponding B value from the return value, right? Very simple exercise when you look at this table. Now think about what will happen if you have 1,000 rows or 2,000 rows, right? Granted, you can search for the value, but how many times will you actually do it? If you want to take 100 values, right? If you want to look 100 values and get the corresponding results, right? It becomes tedious, right? And this is something that a normal data analyst will do on a daily basis, right? So now let's look how would you actually do it manually, right? This, let me paste it here. So this is the lookup value, which is 2, okay? And we want the corresponding return value B, right? If I take this 2 and look at the column D, I go one by one. 1 is equals to 2, no. 2 is equals to 2, yes. And then I need to know exactly what I'm returning. Am I returning the same value or a value in a different column? In this case, the return value. So I jump to return value column and I find 2 corresponds to B value in the return value column, right? And then I type in B, right? Straightforward, right? Now, in order to do this entire exercise, how many things do I need to know? First is I need to know what I'm looking for, right? Second, I need to know where I'm looking for, okay, especially this column, right? And then I need to know corresponding to this lookup column, right, where I'm looking the value for, do I, from how many steps do I go either on the right or left, okay, in order to get the corresponding value. In other words, apart from knowing what the lookup value is, where I'm looking at, right, I need to know exactly from which column to get the value from, right? These are the very basic 3 things that you would need in order to arrive at the result, which we did exactly, right? Now let's look VLOOKUP and see how it performs the same thing, right? Let me put 2 here and I will say VLOOKUP, and you would immediately see all the 3 things that we just talked about are in this formula. So the first is lookup value. This is the value that I'm looking for, right? Many times I have seen the people get confused what is lookup value, and they start uh, just choosing any random cell from here and there, right? Understand, lookup value is something that you're looking for, and you're looking for this value, right? Then a comma, table array, that means entire table from where you are going to get the data, right? Not just the column you are looking at, which is the lookup value, right? You are going to select every column and every row from the table where you have the data, and then you would tell it which column you are going to get the value from. So in this case, we are going to get the value from return value column, which is the second column from the start. What is the start column? The lookup value. Start column is considered as the first column, return value will be second column, and so on, right? So we are going to get the value from the second column, right? And for now we will basically ignore the fourth option, and we will always consider this as 0. Why 0? Just a brief introduction. 0 means that I will only output the value if I get the exact match of what I'm looking for. If I don't get an exact match, I will not return any value, right? And we press enter, and you would immediately look that the B has appeared, right? Now if I change it to 1, it will automatically change. If I change it to 3, it will automatically change. If I change the value to something which is not available, it will show you not available, right? #NA, not available. But there are certain problems with VLOOKUP, right? And let's look at those problems. What will happen if I have duplicates? And if I put 2 here, right? You would immediately see that 2 here return the first occurrence of the value, right? So it does not matter how many times the lookup value occurs in the table, it will take the first occurrence and it will return the corresponding column you are looking for, the corresponding value from the column you are looking for, right? So that's the first drawback of VLOOKUP. Second is, when you give the table array as the input, the first column will always be the lookup column. So that means the table array that you're going to select, the leftmost column of that selected area will be the column where your lookup value exists, right? Which means you cannot go from right to left. You will always go from left to right, because VLOOKUP does not accept negative column index number. It will give you a value error, which means it does not understand what one of the values in the formula means, right? So those are two of the drawbacks that we know from VLOOKUP. Now for duplicate values, you can work around with creating a different or unique column, okay, which has unique values, and you can use it to get VLOOKUP, or you can use it for VLOOKUP and you will get the values that you're looking for. But this is just for completeness, that you understand that VLOOKUP has these kind of drawbacks. So we have two solutions to this problem. The first one is index and match, which was very popular in the interview questions, right? And the second one is XLOOKUP, which is a recent addition, a relatively recent addition to Excel, in order to solve every problem that you are going to face with VLOOKUP, right?